Today's guest has been with American Profit Recovery, a debt collection agency, for the last 14 years. With a background in psychology, he joined the team right after graduating college and has landed with a core focus in mitigating compliance issues and working with collectors to improve processes and enhance consumer scripting. Joe Witkowski, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
So, Joe, where are you based out of?
Yeah, we're in Farmington Hills, Michigan, right outside of Detroit.
And what can you tell me about American Profit Recovery? By looking at your website, it seems like American Profit Recovery has core values really focused in the ethics of collecting.
American Profit Recovery has the core belief that everyone should be treated with the values of the Collector Pledge, which is I believe every person has worth as an individual. I believe everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. I'll make it my responsibility to help consumers find ways to pay their just debts. I'll be professional and ethical, and I'll commit to honoring this pledge. And so from the day that we train any individual to when their training's complete, we have them sign that pledge. And then from there, it's in the ethos of how we collect. When you're talking to a consumer, remember first that they're a person, and you have to believe that everyone who has a debt wants to pay their debts. So the question you have to ask yourself is, why haven't they paid it?
And working in the compliance space, I can imagine that you have a big part in helping the collectors uphold that pledge.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think the first question I ask when I review a call is, were they friendly when they were talking to a consumer? Because if they weren't friendly, then the chance of that getting collected ends, is less from that point forward because everyone wants to talk to a friendly perspective or person.
Yeah, for sure. And when your collectors are reaching out to consumers on behalf of various businesses, right? Because it looks like American Profit Recovery works in a multitude of industries, right?
Yeah, we work, I think, primarily 50% lawn care last I looked.
Okay.
So weed control, fertilizer, and then it's, banks, vets, medical breaks up the remainder, HVAC, restoration companies. We work with all of those spaces.
So today, overall, I wanted to talk about the benefits of having a close compliance and collector relationship, but also the unexpected benefits. Could you talk about some of the expected benefits of having that close relationship?
I think what you're looking at is, when I first started, I was learning, how we work, and that's to really focus on like talking to a consumer. Right after I started, we moved offices and they put me next to the sales role. And once we got placed in sales, what I realized was that we are a sales position. We can say whatever you want, but a collector is a sales position. The first thing you need to do is, we have warm leads, which are people who have outstanding balances. We need to reach out to them, understand why they haven't paid the account, and overcome that objection. And so once we got that, we started to really, focus in, on our scripts onto being more sales. So I think one of the examples is the questions we ask to pay is, did you want to pay this account today with a check by phone, or did you want to do an ACH payment? Either way, we don't care because we're having a conversation about paying as opposed to other aspects of the matter.
So, can you talk a little bit about the unexpected benefits of having a close compliance and sales relationship?
Sure. So, I mean, the story comes down to like back when I first started collecting, as with any career, you find milestones, what's really pushed me to the next level. And that was, when I was sitting next to sales. When I sat next to sales, I started to see what they did. I started to see how they were overcoming objections, just even tone of talking to someone. So instead of sitting with the collectors, when you sit with people and when you work with them, a lot of problems we have with our clients is knowing what they do. We can overcome their objections. And it's really, working collections. We've started to really look at a sales professional and a collection professional. It's the same role, it's the same. We need to have our collectors be friendly.
Yeah, very tight knit within the organization and within the companies that are working for you or with you.
Yeah, I mean, again, there was a guy who I spoke to right before we got on the phone. I was working with a new collector. One of our clients called us and knew my name, and I could say that he's told me that he can hear my breathing and he knows who I am just when I answer the phone.
So, how did the pandemic impact that? Because it seems like you really all function based off of the traditional method of, literally sitting next to each other. So did the pandemic like put a fork in that?
I mean, the pandemic wasn't ideal,
Mhm.
you know, but at the same time, the companies invested in technology. We were able to say, everyone, you can, because within the collection industry, we heard of companies that couldn't operate. They had to shut down until they could open up. But we were able to, tell everyone, grab your computer, go home, log on. And then we implemented things. I think we did Zooms and we did Teams and, IMs. And, the culture was, I think, what we had to really stress to collectors is if you would talk to the person, just call them on Teams, call them on Zooms, just talk to them, make sure you communicate.
Yeah, culture seems to be a really influential part of the company, which is great because I can imagine working at a debt collection agency has its struggles, right? You're having very difficult conversations with people. Some might go not as well as others.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it is exactly that. It's culture's always been what we focused on. It's hardworking, You're here, I'm putting in 40, 50 hours a week, but it's fun to be here. We're making jokes. It's a great team to have. One of the meetings we had, one of the team supervisors would have a squirt gun, and anytime they did something, they would squirt water in their face just to give everyone a laugh.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, that's
Yeah,
one way to keep, stay alert during your workday, especially with a long day.
yeah, it was.
And that must translate to the people you're speaking on the phone with, especially if you also have close relationships with them. Everybody in the office is having a good time. They're in a positive spirits when they're talking to the people. And have you found that that helps the conversations go better?
Sure. When you're happy, people know it.
Mhm.
So, for instance, I know sales has to be super positive on every phone call. And when I sat next to sales, I was happier and people could hear it. I always believe that if you're smiling, even if they can't see your face, they know you're smiling.
It seems like since you are very closely connected with both the people in office and the actual clients that you're working with, that must make it a lot easier to empathize when some people are maybe struggling to pay more than others. How do you all approach tweaking, whether it's the repayment strategy or just the overall process that you implement in order to help get them, out of that distressed debt?
First off, it always surprises me what one phone call can make. About a month ago, actually, it was probably in February. I called a business. The business was struggling, and once we set him up on a payment plan in May, he paid it off. And he left me a Google review that he said, and then emailed me too. And in the email, it said, I was so underwater, I didn't even know where to start. Your phone call, let me know that I can reach out to my creditors and set up repayment plans and get out of this debt. The conversation starts and ends with make the phone call, talk to the consumer, understand why they haven't resolved it, and then see what you can do to help.
Yeah, and you're almost jump starting them into actually taking that action.
What my goal has always been to see, facilitate them into resolution. So whatever that facilitation is, I'm happy to help them within reason, right? If they need a week or a month, we can definitely give them that time they need. I've always felt the reason why the collection industry has a negative connotation associated with it is because most of the time the people I call and reach out to are avoiding it. So if you're avoiding a financial obligation, it's stressful to get calls from collection agencies. It's stressful to get calls from people saying, hey, why didn't you do this? So the goal is to say, hey, we're here to help you. How can we help you get this matter resolved?
Yeah, not putting the blame on them or going at them, why didn't you do this? But we are here to help you move past this. That's a really great ethos to have.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything, in your 14 years in the company, how it's progressed just on strategy, but also with all of the technology that is available? Is that something that you're influenced by, or yeah, how has it evolved since you began?
Funny you say that because the partners once, had us over. One of the partners had us over to their house, and he had a copy of an old work card from why they left the company. But a work card was just, the debtor file all on one folder, and it looked really cool. But from there, they then came here, and then they wanted the company to be based on technology. So a good 10% of our employees are based, and I look away for a second because I looked right at our IT office because 10% of our company, give or take, is IT professionals, which to my understanding is high for any collection agency. We were lucky enough to get a really good piece of collection software that we've been utilizing, since our inception. And we're now in the process to transition away from that to a different collection software. I think our date is October for that software. But within that, we've also transitioned to, for instance, CRM management for just interactions with our, clients. Because, from when I started here, what I'd have to do is, if there was a dispute, I would call the client directly and I'd say, "Hey, did you guys get this check?" And then we've transitioned to more so using a CRM relationship so we could just email them. And of course, we've also built a portal so that, we can do direct communications within our own software that's integrated within our collection software so that if the client drops a note, it goes right on the account.
So it seems amping up that digital customer centricity without losing your core values of that, you know me, I know you, everyone knows each other's names.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the cool thing is where we're looking to do is more omni-channel. So more so even our clients can communicate with us directly, and we're trying to focus on communicating with consumers within how they want. And of course, within that, it's got to be slower than a client because we are within regulations, and those regulations aren't the quickest to get updated. So, for instance, I think we're looking in ways to text and email and even to have consumers log in, access a portal to see, their own status as well. But again, we want to make sure we protect their privacy as well. I mean, protecting their rights is critical to everything we do here.
Especially being in a compliance role. I'm sure that's top of mind.
It's top of mind in everything I do.
So, Joe, it's been really great speaking with you and learning a little bit more about your company. Is there anything that you would like to add before we leave?
Again, I just want to say that, we want to, if any consumers listening to the call, there's a lot of information you can read about us, but, for American Profit Recovery, just call. Our goal here is to work with you in getting this matter resolved. So we're friendly people and we do generally want to help people.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. Again, thanks so much for speaking with me today. It was great meeting you.